So I understand we should have, starting us off this morning, we're speaking to the Don't Fear the Smear campaign. Dr. Faith B. Israel, Secretary with responsibility for the Division of Health, Wellness, and Social Protection, and Deputy Chief Secretary.
Good
Good morning
morning.
to you and welcome.
Good morning, good morning. It's wonderful being here. Thank you for having me.
Do you get that sense of sunshine glow from that background there
Most
with Dr.
definitely.
Faith? I suspect it is intentional. Good morning to you, Dr. Faith.
It certainly is. I specifically went looking for this color because I needed to have it behind me.
Definitely. It suits you. It suits you well this morning. Now, Dr. Fair, we're talking about the Don't Fear the Smear campaign. And this is this we saw the recent launch of the Don't Fear the Smear campaign, which is a hybrid type of pap smears. Tell us a little bit more about it. Tell us more. And the term Don't Fear the Smear. I thought it very interesting.
Certainly. So this is all part of us claiming all of March as International Women's Month. I know we did the Women's Day, we claimed all of last week as Women's Week, but we are claiming all of March as Women's Month. And we coming out of the statistics, for example, that you showed in the Tobago in Focus, we recognize that a lot of women, especially having had to deal with COVID, where we were all inside and all afraid that if we went outside, we would die, kind of thing. Um, a lot of women did not have the regular pap smears and breast exams and so forth that they normally have every year or every couple of years. So this was an opportunity using International Women's Day to show, to encourage all of our women to come out and be a part of this. So don't fear the smear. I have to admit, I did not come up with that. That was my communications people who did an amazing job. Of course, the smear is, the pap smear.
Yes.
So it's really to highlight that part of it. And it really is because, as women, we know that pap smears are not very, very comfortable things to do. They're embarrassing. You're literally sitting there with your legs akimbo, wide open, and the stranger
Yes.
is
Yes.
in all of your most inner parts, most private parts. So we were really encouraging the women, you know what? Let us not care about it. Don't fear the smear. Come out and get your pap smears, get your breast exams, and all of those things that we need you to do. And you're showing pictures of the whirlwind tour that we had on Saturday, which is me going to the 4 sites where we started this project on Saturday. That included the Keenan Health Center, the Scarborough Health Center, the Health Promotion Clinic up the fort, and the Roxrow Health Facility. So we went around, all of these facilities had their health professionals come out, and the women came out. I was actually, to be honest, we kind of expected maybe 10, 20 women would come out per site. No, 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 no. There were hundreds of women coming out on Saturday. And it was an amazing feature. And it's just the beginning of us doing this for the entire month.
Dr. Faith, interesting enough, and I always like how you are very practical and speaking, just as you give the scenario there about being wide open. But I want to look at it from my side. How important is it, and how would you want to guide in terms of being able to provide that level of support, as men? In these circumstances, because sometimes some fear and try to avoid it altogether, and just say, they have nothing to do with that. What kind of support is important coming from the standpoint of men, even as women pay attention to their health?
Certainly. Well, we live in families, we live in communities. And can you imagine a community or a family without healthy women? I am sure the men of those families don't want to live in that reality. So the men have to be conscious of the fact that we need our women to be healthy. We need our women to be sound. And yes, we are going to be pushing the men as well. As a matter of fact, when I spoke last week in Trinidad, that was one of the things I highlighted. We need to focus on the men. So we'll be doing that soon, probably even before November. But yes, the men need to be a part of this. And let me just give another perfect example. we've recognized that a lot of the women who've identified that they have abnormalities in their breast, do you know who discovered those abnormalities for them? It's
Mm-hmm.
actually their partners that do, because they're the ones who are probably touching. You said I am real.
Groping,
And they're the ones
feeling,
who
Yeah.
sometimes
massaging.
feeling. Yes, and they're the ones who notice, oh wait, that feeling that wasn't there before. Let us look into this. Let us talk about this. Let us get this, dealt with. So we are encouraging the men to encourage your sisters, your mothers, your wives, your girlfriends, your whoever, to go out and also participate in this, because healthy women mean that we have healthy families, and that is what we need, healthy communities.
Now, Dr. Faye, just within the last week during our Women's Week, we had on set with us oncology nurse Karen Frank, along with Rose Ambrose, who's in charge of the Family Planning Association, located out at the Backlet Health Center, and we spoke to the issue here of pap smears, breast self-examinations, etc., and the length of time it took to get results. What sort of time frame are we looking at this point? When pap smears are done, how long does it take? How long should it take? And what is happening?
Yeah, that is one of those things that is just not working the way it should. As a matter of fact, what we are not, what we did not highlight was the fact that this campaign also aims at at clearing the backlog of individuals who have had pap smears within the last year or so, and they have not gotten their results as yet. So part of this project, in behind the scenes, is us actually pulling all of those slides, because they would still be, they would still be good, they would still be worth having the report and so forth. Having those slides pulled and getting your reports from them. Something like this, really, in a space where the system works the way it should, you should be able to get back your results from a pap smear within a day or two, ideally. In some instances, you could actually get it back immediately, because the person who is reading the slides is literally sitting right there in the same facility. We are not there yet, and we are hoping that within a couple weeks you would be able to get back your results, and we would call you back to get back your results. That's all built into this project. But yeah, and I also have to say to individuals, that we sometimes assume that because the health professional did not call us, it means that everything is okay. And that is not necessarily the truth. That is not necessarily accurate. So if you know you did a pap smear, for example, 3 years ago, just before COVID happened, and you realize, hey, me ain't going back in the health center, they ain't call me, it means everything fine. No, no, no. We're encouraging you to come out, use this opportunity to get it redone. Those that are within the last year or so, we will still go and read them and report on them and so forth, just to make sure that everything is okay. But you come out and you get your pap smears done, because this is what we need. And I said to the group that I spoke to in Keenan Health Center on Saturday morning, that if you think that the experience of having one doctor um, go through your most inner parts. I actually had an experience in the United States where I had a urinary tract infection. I didn't know what it was. I just knew I was in pain, and by the end of the day, I was keeled over, and I needed to go to the hospital. Now, coincidentally, because it's a teaching hospital, I went to the Women's Hospital in Pittsburgh because it's a teaching hospital. When I got there, the lecturers, the doctor said to me, "Hi, Faith, this is wonderful. Thank you for coming in. This is a teaching hospital. So when we are doing your pap smear, do you mind if we have a couple students view the pap smear?" And then, of course, there were 10 to 15 people
That's not a
standing there
couple.
looking at me.
More than a couple.
Exactly. That is way more than a couple. But at that point, I was in so much pain. I did not care if the world was looking. At
according
that
to
point, I
according
knew
to the
I needed to
Tubigonians,
do what I needed to do.
according to the Tubigonians, your shame bag done bust.
It busts by that point. So I use that example to encourage our
Yeah.
ladies. Believe me, I survived having 10, 15 random people looking at me while I did it. You can survive that one doctor, that one professional there doing it with you.
Let me ask you very quickly here. No, I believe that if it doesn't get monitored, it doesn't get done. And you indicated earlier that you're on the road to ensuring that results, pap smear results, can be had in a matter of days to weeks. When can you give us a time frame as to when you're looking at? I know you're dealing with the backlog at this point, but give us a time frame within a year, within 2 years, within 6 months, that we would be able to see this reality. My concern is I've lost two friends, and this is just me, lost two friends within the space of 2 months, late 2022. Results would have been given. They would have done surgery, they would have done chemotherapy, and they would have, gone through the process and then given a bill of clean health. And mere weeks later, being told that it has returned. I'm talking about the monitoring. I'm talking about the checks and balances along the way during the process. And something seems to be happening. Somebody seems to be dropping the ball because we cannot fathom how this is happening. Given a clean bill of health, and 2-3 weeks later being told that it has returned. What is happening? And we need to get a time frame. We need to know what is happening, because after that interview last week, Dr. Faith, several persons reached out to me and they said, "Oh, I had a pap smear done 2 years ago and I'm still waiting on the results. Oh, I had this done 3 years ago and I'm still waiting on the results. I had this done 6 months ago and I'm still waiting on the results." They said they'd call and nobody's called. So give us a time frame this morning of when we can see the improvements. Our health is our wealth. Early detection is always the best protection. We're not dealing with things. We're dealing with people. We're dealing with people's lives. We're dealing with people's families this morning. So give us a time frame, please.
Ria, you have identified something that has haunted me. When we started planning this project, my team actually met with the TRHA. The planning team came together and we met. And we asked, how far back is the backlog? And I am not even going to speak publicly about how far back the backlog is. It's just that ridiculous. I lost my when I heard it. And that is why it was an automatic, we have to do something
Just for
to fix the
public,
system.
Dr. Faye, just for public information, how far is the backlog? How far back is that backlog?
It's years.
How many years are we talking?
Years. I don't even want to call the number. Years. Really far back. And that is why we're encouraging people, if you had a pap smear 3-4 years ago, even if you have not had the results, you come back and do it now. That is why we're doing this project. It is that far back.
So who? I mean, we understand that you are now taking office. This is still pretty new to you. You're into your second year. So where did the ball drop? Where did the ball drop? There was a secretary for health in the past. There was make it make sense for us this morning. The persons who were in charge. What was happening? Where was the monitoring? What was happening?
So you know what? One of the things I have always taught, because I do a health, I've done a health quality course where I teach the course at Artalot Jack. And one of the things we need to recognize is that we see these breakdowns. It's harder to identify a particular space. These breakdowns happen because the system is not in place. Full stop. So one, our health professionals, and I would always say, I said it to them over the weekend, our health professionals are some of the hardest working people. They do their jobs. They do their jobs to the best of their ability. But when the system does not support them doing it to the best that it can be done, this is when we see situations like these. So, for example, we may have the doctors and the nurses and so forth that are doing it, people are coming in. But when you ask, who is actually reading the slides? How is that process? That is where you realize there may be a little bit of breakdown there. When you look at the medical information system that is able to track that this person did this test in at this time, and we should have a ping that says the results should be ready by now. That system isn't in place as yet. And all of those things are what so we are working on in the background. I have actually said it before that we are moving towards digitization so that you don't have to walk around with these paper files in your hand because the papers get lost. So you know what? I am not in the game of trying to blame any particular sets of people. The entire system simply was not working. But that is why I have accepted the fact that it has not been working, but that is why I am here. That is why the team is here to work with the group that is there now. And they have been working really, really hard to ensure that the system works. So that in a year from now, so for example, one of the doctors who was at one of the health facilities, that doctor messaged me about 7 o'clock Saturday evening. And by the way, they had started since 9 o'clock Saturday morning. Messaged me after 7 saying, Dr. Faith had just reached home. Don't worry. When we continue doing this, if we put the systems in place, within a year, we would get to a certain percentage of people being where they need to be and so forth. And that told me that they were actually there really committed to making this work. As a matter of fact, in all of the health facilities, remember this is Saturday. These facilities are not normally open on Saturdays. We are asking these people to give up their weekends to do this for us. They have all said to you know what, Dr. Faith, we feel good about this because we feel like we're actually doing something for those women who came in. We feel like we're actually accomplishing something. Yes, it's hard work. Yes, we're here way longer. Yes, the food didn't come yet, even though it's supposed to come since what o'clock, but it's okay. We feel good doing this, and that is what I wanted to highlight, that these are professionals who are doing the best that they can given the system that they were in that they are working in, but we are here to help fix the collective system.
Dr. Faith, I want to get a sense from you in terms of some of the specifics. We noted that the visits would have been done to Keenan and Scarborough Health Center, the Roxborough Health Facility, and the Tobago Health Promotions Clinic. And this is intended to take place for the full month of March. Is it going to be on a weekend, or Saturdays, people come in free? Just give us a little more specifics in terms of the viewers and listeners so that they would know, hey, this is something I certainly want to benefit from. When can I head on in, and which facilities will it be taking place
Definitely.
Right, so we have several things happening, and when I tell you people have really jumped on board, we have some of our senior retired nurses, like nurse Rivers and they, for example, who jumped back in and said, hey, let's do this. So we're not taking the doctors and nurses away from their normal functioning, and they will be roving throughout the district. So for example, today they should be like Speyside. You could go to the Pink Room. You can go back to Scarborough Health Center if you have an appointment with them normally, or you can go to the Roxborough Health Facility. While we saw what was happening on Friday, I got a call from Dr. Duke. Dr. Duke said, Dr. Faith, don't worry, we're setting up a special system. So even though Roxborough was only supposed to be on Saturday, we are going to do this next week and probably the week after every day. So they can come back to Roxborough from 9 to about 3 o'clock. There's a special group of people just sitting there waiting for them to come in. Delafour tomorrow, Mariah on Wednesday, Bloody Bay. So we're doing the circle. What we are doing is actually in those communities where there will be a special service. We have Baker, for example, going around doing the advertisement saying, tomorrow is your day, Delafour, come out and get your paps there, kind of thing, so that the ladies in those communities know that it is their time. What we are going to do, because this system, things happen. We are publishing every week what the schedule is for that week, and then as we go along, we publish the schedule for the following week. We also had, for example, some private sector come on as well. Set Medical, and I have to highlight Dr. Tam and they at Set Medical, which is the private facility in Glen Road. They have come on board where their doctors are doing this basically volunteering. We just need to pay to have the actual smears read. So they are setting up appointments for Sunday. So if you can't make it during the week, you can't make it on Saturday because you may be an SD or something, there is an option for you on Sundays at Set Medical. You just have to call and make the appointment with Set. And let me just give the number there, just in case people are interested in Sundays. That's 288-4008 and 393-2243. So you can make the appointments there for Sundays as well. And we will continue as we go along for the rest of the month. We'll keep blasting where we will be. Of course, Tobago is small. So even if you live in Charlottesville, you could come down to Crown Point. If you live in Crown Point, you can go up to Charlottesville if that is what you need to do on that day to ensure that you get your pap smear done, you get your breast exams done, and you don't fear the smear.
So just catering as well for those who may not be active on social media. Any telephone contacts at TRHA office or your office at health that they can reach out to as well, just checking in on the schedule for those who want to make sure they didn't miss it?
I do not have a contact directly for the charity, but everybody know my number 494-8827, and just send me a contact, send me a message. I will respond to that message.
Now, we tend to take things for granted here, Dr. Faith, for those first-time persons going out for pap smears. And unfortunately, there are women who are sexually active, they've had children, and they've never had a pap smear done, unfortunately. But for those first-time persons going out there this time around to have their pap smears done, what should they be mindful of?
Certainly. And there are first times. And by the way, at one of the sites on Saturday, I actually saw a mother bringing her daughter. Listen, you all, we have to be real. The mother brought her daughter to get the pap smear done. We're not pretending that the young lady is not having sex. Um, just know that it is a normal process. It is one of those processes that, yes, it may feel a little bit uncomfortable. It is not supposed to hurt. If it does hurt, then actually it's a good thing that you are there and you are experiencing the hurt, because that means we are probably identifying something at its early stage. So don't be afraid of that. It's not supposed to hurt, but if it does hurt, let the doctors know it is hurting, and or the nurse know that it is hurting, and they will then use that as a guide as well to say, well, this might be something you need to be more conscious of with you. So just know that it's a normal part of what we're encouraging you to do. Once you do it this one time and you get it over with and you have a clean bill, then you don't necessarily, because the guidelines don't speak about doing it every year anymore. The guidelines speak about doing it every couple of years based on your family history, based on the initial report that you get and so forth. So it's not something we have to do every year, but definitely come and get it done, because identifying cervical cancer, because that is what we are trying to identify. Cervical cancer, when it is in the precancerous stage, meaning the cells are just beginning to be abnormal, we can provide treatment for you at that time that is going to prevent it from getting all the way to cancer. It is way easier, and to be honest, it is way cheaper for us to provide treatment for you in stage 1 of cervical cancer than it is to provide treatment for you in stage 3 and 4. By the time you get to stage 3 and 4, the treatment is going to be so rigorous, it's going to be so difficult. And at that point, you may not even be able to survive it because we've caught it too late. So one of these things, this is one where prevention and early detection is way, way, way better than cure. So use this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Dr. Faith. And I mean, we never have enough time with you, no matter what the topic is, that you're discussing. We feel as though we never have enough time with you. So we want to thank you this morning. Again, early detection really is the best protection. You did make mention earlier on of the pink room. Is the pink room now functional again?
Yes, so the pink room, what we've done thus far is we have actually all of the rainbow rooms that I used to call them before becoming Secretary of Health. I'm sorry. They are now part of the Tobago Regional Health Authority, because when they were created, they were standalone entities. And that was part of the issue with them. So I've instructed the CEO since back when, pull the pink room, pull the blue room under the auspices of the Tobago Regional Health Authority, which would allow us to have better monitoring, allow us to look at what is happening a little better. So yes, it is back on stream. It is not 100% where we need to be, but then I've accepted the fact that things take time and the processes take time to build and to develop. So we are getting there.
Interesting comment here to wrap this segment. Dr. Faith needs a whole show. She loves to explain to a level where everyone can understand.
That's right.
Very interesting. And I suppose that is important when you speak healthcare. So it's not just about telling me from a medical and at one level, but making sure that the average Joe is able to understand what is happening within the system. Thank you so much again, Dr. Faith B. Israel, Deputy Chief Secretary and Secretary with Responsibilities for Health, for joining us here on the Tobago Updates morning show.